One broadcast, one mistake, one moment everyone assumes is part of the show. That's all it takes. Because when something goes wrong on live television, there's no rewind, no edit, and no second take. Tonight, these are the top 10 worst ways people died on live TV. Moments captured in real time, watched by millions, where the signal stayed live long enough for tragedy to unfold. Number 10. The joke that never ended. It was April 15, 1984, inside Her Majesty's Theatre in London. 63-year-old Tommy Cooper walked onto the stage wearing his signature red cloak. He was Britain's most beloved comedian, famous for turning mistakes into punchlines. 12 million people were watching live on ITV. The audience was already primed to laugh. Cooper thanked his assistant, adjusted his prop, and began his routine. What viewers didn't realize was that something was already wrong. The lights were hot. The cloak was heavy. Cooper shifted his weight, stumbled backward, and collapsed against the curtain. His body twisted. His legs jerked. Footage shows the audience erupting with laughter. They thought it was physical comedy. They thought this was the bit. Seconds passed. Then longer. Cooper didn't get up. Behind the curtain, crew members froze. The director realized the timing was off. This wasn't rehearsed. This wasn't funny anymore. The broadcast cut to commercials as performers were rushed on stage to distract the audience. Behind the scenes, staff attempted CPR. Cooper had suffered a massive heart attack. He was pronounced dead shortly after arriving at the hospital. Millions had just laughed through a man's final moments, because live television trained them to. But the next death was even harder to process. Number 9. 73 seconds. January 28, 1986. Cape Canaveral, Florida. Classrooms across America were watching live. Teachers rolled televisions into hallways. Children sat cross-legged on linoleum floors. The Space Shuttle Challenger was about to launch. On board were 7 astronauts, including Krista McAuliffe, a schoolteacher chosen to inspire a generation. The broadcast was clean, patriotic, hopeful. What viewers didn't realize was that engineers had warned of danger. Cold temperatures had compromised rubber O-rings in the solid rocket boosters. The concern was documented. The launch proceeded anyway. Footage shows Challenger lifting off cleanly at 11:38 a.m. 73 seconds later, a white flash blooms across the sky. The shuttle disintegrates live on television. For several seconds, commentators say nothing. They don't understand what they're seeing. Neither do the students watching. The camera stays on the smoke trail. All 7 astronauts were killed. The investigation confirmed mechanical failure caused by cold-weakened seals. The broadcast became one of the most replayed tragedies in television history. A generation learned in real time that even science isn't immune to silence and delay. Number 8. The Fall from the Rafters. May 23, 1999. Kansas City, Missouri. Over 16,000 fans packed Kemper Arena. Millions more were watching the WWF's Over the Edge pay-per-view live. 34-year-old Owen Hart was scheduled to make a dramatic entrance as his superhero alter ego, the Blue Blazer. The plan was theatrical. Descend from the rafters, land safely, play it for laughs. What Hart didn't realize was that the equipment was wrong. Instead of a professional fall arrest system, he was attached to a quick-release harness designed for stunt exits, not suspended descent. As technicians repositioned him 78 feet above the ring, the release mechanism triggered. Footage shows Hart dropping straight down. He strikes the top rope, then the mat. At first, the crowd reacts like they've been trained to, cheering, laughing, assuming it's scripted. But referees don't move. Medics sprint. The broadcast abruptly cuts away. Hart died from internal bleeding caused by a severed aorta. The event continued. The decision to keep broadcasting remains one of wrestling's most controversial moments, a reminder that when the show must go on, someone may already be gone. Number 7. Two helicopters, one frame. July 27, 2007, Phoenix, Arizona. Two news helicopters hovered above a routine police chase unfolding across the city below. KNXV-TV and KTVK were both broadcasting live, competing for aerial angles of a stolen vehicle weaving through traffic. It was mid-afternoon. Clear skies, a familiar assignment. From the ground, nothing seemed unusual. What neither crew fully realized was how tight the airspace had become. Footage shows both helicopters drifting into the same frame, circling, adjusting altitude, jockeying subtly for position. Each pilot was focused on the chase below. Each photographer was framing the shot. Live television rewards proximity. Closer means clearer. Clearer means viewers. Then the distance vanished. Rotor blades clipped. The sound was sharp and unmistakable. Metal tore through metal. Both helicopters spun violently out of control. Cameras were still rolling as the aircraft began to fall. Viewers watched in real time as the helicopters plummeted toward Steel Indian School Park, twisting as debris separated mid-air. There was no evasive maneuver, no recovery. Both aircraft slammed into the ground seconds apart. All four crew members, 2 pilots and 2 photographers, were killed instantly. On the ground, people ran for cover. Miraculously, no bystanders were injured. Later investigations concluded that inadequate airspace coordination during simultaneous live coverage was a critical factor. In the aftermath, newsrooms nationwide revised helicopter protocols and imposed stricter separation rules. But the footage remains. A routine chase, a shared frame, and 4 lives lost live on television. Number 6. Rehearsal that went too far. November 13, 1986, BBC Television Centre, London. 24-year-old Michael Lush was rehearsing for the Late Breakfast Show, a program famous for pushing volunteers into dangerous stunts. The challenge was called Hang 'em High, a bungee jump from a suspended box over 100 feet in the air. This wasn't even live yet. What Lush didn't realize was that a carabiner clip inside the box wasn't secured properly. As the box released, the clip failed. There was no stretch, no bounce. Lush fell straight to the ground. He was killed instantly. The show was canceled. Regulations tightened. Live stunt television in the UK effectively ended that day. Sometimes the most dangerous moment isn't the broadcast. It's what happens just before it. Number 5. Morning television turned silent. August 26, 2015, Bridgewater Plaza, Virginia. It was a routine morning segment. Reporter Allison Parker interviewed a local tourism official. Cameraman Adam Ward framed the shot. They were live. What viewers didn't realize was that a former employee was nearby, armed, angry, and watching the same broadcast. Audio captured 8 gunshots. The camera shook. Parker screamed. The feed cut to black. Back in the studio, anchors stared at their monitors, confused. Both Parker and Ward were killed at the scene. The shooter fled, later posting his own footage online before taking his life. The incident changed how news stations approach live field reporting, proving that being live doesn't just capture events. Sometimes it invites them. Number 4. The man who promised to live to $100. June 8, 1971. ABC Studios, New York City. J.I. Rodale sat comfortably in his chair on the Dick Cavett Show, smiling beneath the studio lights. At 72, he was a publishing pioneer and one of America's most visible advocates for organic living. He spoke confidently about health, vitality, and the benefits of natural food. At one point, he joked that he expected to live to be 100. The audience laughed. What no one in the studio realized was that Rodale was already in medical distress. As the interview segment ended and Cavett transitioned to the next guest, Rodale leaned back slightly in his chair. His posture changed. His head tilted, his eyes closed. At first it looked like fatigue. Then stillness set in. Cameras were still rolling. For several seconds, the studio audience assumed it was a bit. An awkward pause, perhaps a joke landing late. But Cavett noticed something was wrong. The laughter thinned. The room shifted. Crew members moved toward the stage. Rodale was no longer breathing. Medical assistance was summoned immediately, but there was nothing to be done. He had suffered a massive heart attack and died right there on the studio floor, live on national television. Later, Cavett would describe the moment as one of the most disturbing experiences of his career. A man who built his life around health collapsed mid-sentence, while the cameras never stopped. Sometimes irony isn't written, it's broadcast. Number 3. The reality show collapse. November 27, 2019, Ningbo, China. Godfrey Gao was filming the reality competition, or Chase Me, a physically demanding show built around endurance, speed, and exhaustion. Contestants were expected to run extended obstacle courses late into the night, often with little rest between takes. By the time cameras followed Gao just after 1 a.m., he had been filming for hours. He was 35 years old, a successful actor and model. Fit, athletic, no visible health issues. What viewers didn't realize was how depleted he already was. Footage shows Gao running, then slowing. His posture changes. He reaches toward his head, stumbles, and collapses face first onto the ground. At first, nearby cast members hesitate. In reality television, collapse can look like performance, like drama manufactured for the camera. This wasn't scripted. Production staff rush in. CPR begins on camera. Voices call for medical assistance. The filming continues as confusion spreads across the set. An ambulance is called, but response time stretches into fatal minutes. Gao never regains consciousness. He is pronounced dead hours later from sudden cardiac arrest. Public reaction is immediate and furious. Fans demand accountability. Investigations expose grueling production schedules and insufficient on-set medical safeguards. In response, Chinese broadcasters announce reforms, limits on filming hours, mandatory medical staff, stricter safety oversight. But the footage remains online, a moment of collapse mistaken for content. A life lost while the cameras kept rolling. Number 2. The ski run that never finished. January 29, 1994. Garmisch-Partenkirchen, Germany. Ulrike Meyer stood at the top of the Kandahar downhill course, one of the fastest and most punishing tracks in alpine skiing. Cameras were live. Commentators spoke in measured tones. Millions watched as she adjusted her goggles and pushed out of the start gate. She was 26 years old, a two-time world champion. Aggressive, precise, fearless. The early seconds looked perfect. Meyer accelerated rapidly, carving clean lines as her speed climbed well beyond 60 miles per hour. The course narrowed. The terrain dropped away. This was the section where races were decided. What viewers didn't realize was how little margin existed at that speed. Footage shows her ski catch an edge. It happens instantly. Her body snaps out of alignment. Control is gone before reaction is possible. She is launched into the air, then slammed back down across the ice-hard surface. The impact breaks her neck on contact. Her body continues into the safety netting, tangling violently as skis and poles scatter. Medics rush in within seconds. Helicopters stand by. But there is nothing to stabilize. Meyer never regains consciousness. Later investigations confirm she died from cervical spine injuries sustained on first impact, not from striking equipment or posts as initially speculated. In the aftermath, downhill courses were redesigned, netting was reinforced, safety protocols tightened. But the footage remains: a flawless run, a single mistake, and a champion's final descent, broadcast live to the world. Number 1. Laughter until the end. April 15, 1984, London. Tommy Cooper walked onto the stage at Her Majesty's Theatre wearing his trademark red fez and flowing cloak. The broadcast was live on ITV. 12 million viewers were watching. The audience was already laughing before he spoke a word. This was his domain. Physical comedy, deliberate mistakes. Timing built on awkward pauses and apparent failure. That's why no one understood what was happening. Mid-routine, Cooper staggered backward. He leaned into the curtain, his body twisted, his legs jerked. The audience roared. They thought this was the joke. The cameras stayed locked on him. What they didn't realize was that Cooper had suffered a massive heart attack. Seconds passed, then more. He didn't rise. He didn't speak. He didn't reset the gag. Behind the curtain, crew members froze. The timing was wrong. This wasn't rehearsal. This wasn't scripted. The director finally cut to commercials, pushing other performers on stage to cover the delay. Backstage, frantic attempts at resuscitation failed. Cooper was pronounced dead shortly after arrival at the hospital. Millions had laughed through his final moments, not out of cruelty, but conditioning. Live television had trained them to believe collapse was entertainment. The cameras didn't stop. They never do. These moments weren't staged. They weren't scripted. They weren't meant to happen. They were captured because the cameras never stopped rolling. No clip is worth a life. No broadcast justifies ignoring warning signs. And no moment of entertainment should ever cost someone their last breath. If you want to continue deeper into the stories behind moments the cameras weren't supposed to catch, the next video is already waiting.